My beautiful Crystar family, my beautiful flame holders, let's dive in a little bit more to some of the terminology that we utilize while we are doing our intentions, our meditations, and our building of our Rasha body. So in this video, I want to talk about what is Rasha body. Every term that we are talking about actually has a very scientific and a um, very physical type of way that we could look at it. So we're starting to recognize ascension mechanics is actually expanding our awareness and our consciousness, that spirituality and science actually have a merging place within them. They are really quite beautiful intermingling languages that really start to describe what is happening during ascension cycles. So we've talked a little bit about what it is to be a flame holder, or what does the flame actually refer to? Well, the flame is the fire, it's the light, it is the emanation that is coming, say, from the core domain worlds. And we're going to kind of touch on that a little bit with Rasha Body. So when we become a flame holder, we are being able to be a pillar of light or a station that has the ability to maintain a flame within creation. And flames are going to have connection to all angelic realms, that the angelics are basically the flame holders. There's many, many different families of angelics that come from different realms, angelics associated with different elementals. Angelics are really the plasma light energy that has the ability to move between dimensional planes of existence. That's why they are referred to as the messengers. And we are that. We have, through our ability to really build our consciousness to move between dimensions and planes, we become the messengers again and being able to anchor that energy. So I want to give you two visualizations for being a flame holder, and one would be a candle. If you think about a candle has the ability to maintain and hold a flame or a light, but so does an oil lamp. And an oil lamp is a metaphor that the Guardians like to use a lot of times, because when we really start to activate our glands and open up our chakras, specifically our Hara line and our Kundalini or our starfire energy, there is an actual process that goes where it starts to awaken an energy within our third eye. And there is a bit of a barrier in there that when that gets crossed over through that energy, it starts to release a secretion. And in many videos, or others have put a lot of videos out that you could look into of the Christed oil that actually secretes out, that people have gotten so interested in that they've actually been able to get it, and it's a minute amount, but they can actually get it and capture a bit of it. And when they do, it really is like an oil. So within that, what is so important about that? Well, it helps us recognize that we are the Christed beings, we are the anointed beings, right? And that we are the ones that are activating that within us. And that if you think about how oil is a beautiful carrier for increasing the ability to hold the flame, this is just another way of looking at how important our ascension mechanics are. So let's look at a couple of different resources. I'm going to show you a couple resources from the energetic synthesis platform, primarily the Ascension Glossary, as well as some materials from Ashiana Dean that are going to talk a little bit about the Rasha body. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these visuals. So the first resource I want to tap into is going to be the Ascension Glossary. There's a link here. You could look at Rasha Body Instruction Set. And before we dive into it, I want to just kind of give a spoiler alert. Really, the Rasha body is basically our dark matter template. It's our blueprint, and it really can be associated to the atom. And I want to give you kind of a perspective of a visual, and think about what is instruction set. So imagine if I had a whole row of seeds here, seeds from all kinds of different plants or different fruits or different things. Inside each of the seeds would be an instruction set, so that even though all the seeds might look similar, when you plant them in the dark matter, when you plant them in the earth, they will all follow their own unique individual instruction sets, and each one will produce a completely different form. So it's also important to recognize that a seed is a fraction of what the final product will be. So for instance, we think of, I know they use like a mustard seed as an example because it's one of the smallest seeds out there, but an acorn turning into an oak, so on and so forth. You'd realize the seed's going to be very, very little, but at the end of its manifestation cycle, it can be quite a massive and beautiful physical thing within creation. Now, within that, we are also being built by these instruction sets. And an instruction set is going to come from our original blueprint or whatever that original spark is within, and that is held within what we might think as the aton or the atom. Just to kind of play with that a little bit. And that's why I'm saying when we really start to look at what are we working with mantras, with light language, visuals, so symbols, yantras, mudras. So starting to work with the hands, moving our body in particular ways, yogas, all of these things. They are all specifically designed to move energy in a very specific way through our body in order to move it through specific chambers and energy centers to promote activation of sometimes many of these dormant sets or instruction sets within us that will open up in sequence as we become more advanced or ready to open them up. So again, you would think of this as a plant goes through stages of instruction set sequences. It'll go into pushing through the soil, into pushing out and creating stem or leaves, and then it goes into pushing out the next instruction sets of fruiting, creating its produce or whatever it brings into manifestation. And then the final stages usually becomes the production of more instruction sets, more seeds for more universal creations. We're no different. As above, so below. All creation follows these basic sets and patterns. So when we say that we are building our Rasha body, I want to just let you know there's multiple terms for this that we're going to look at, but the Rasha body is the base template for all of them. So let's go ahead and look here. So again, at the very beginning, it says right here, the dark matter template is the blueprint on which the eternal source particle atoms and molecules are built in order to generate the layers of eternal light. This is actually a type of matter body that is fully merged with eternal spirit substance. So I love the way she describes things. I know it can be a little complex at times until you really kind of go over it over and over again. But remember, these initial from the God source world, Rasha sets are actually coming from basics like suns, explosions of stars and suns and cosmic births of entire universes, right? And so these are the step downs that we get to be a part of. So we are really looking at a very special time that there are upgrades that are happening to the Rasha body currently right now through the ascension cycle. And there's something very special she was saying is that there are such massive upgrades that are happening right now that during evolutionary cycles, we generally aren't on a planetary body while this is happening. So this is really new for us as guardian races, that this is why we feel so like, oh my gosh, this is so wild. What is going on? And it feels so outside of anything that we kind of know how to handle or deal with because we're in the middle of it, is because generally we're not usually on a planetary body at this stage of what is happening to a planet. But here we are assisting. So let's look at some of these. And what we are restoring right now is all of the twinning or the merging or the restoration of the cosmic mother. So let me just kind of highlight this right here. Let me see if I can actually highlight this on here for you. So the cosmic mother and the cosmic father, and these are being merged, and which they are basically beginning to move through all of the Particae grids. And this is coming from the first God world creation. And this is another way of really kind of looking at the core domain worlds. If you think of the first worlds out, and then if it chrysanthemums, if it keeps blossoming out, then it would be further and further and further worlds from the core within there. And our job is to see if we can keep the cosmic pattern no matter how many emanations out that we go. So this is really going to be, if we look at this, this is going to be the Emerald Order Templar and the Ruby Order Templar. This is the, again, the Cosmic Mother, the Cosmic Father. And just to remember, the gold ray is really representing the child in a lot of this. So this is why we would see this as a trinity. So now, as we see this, this is going to be the twinning of the universal Melchizedek sons. And as this begins, there are things that are really called dark matter Rasha spans and Rasha rings. There are sound tones, which are corrective measures for the dark matter corruption and for rebuilding the primary gender twin matrix in the universal Kemalohatea. So just to kind of step that down a little bit, this is really another way of starting to look at how complex creation is. So if you were to even take it down to looking at the mechanics of how an atom operates, that it has layers around it. So all creation actually has these spans and rings. And sound is going to be the primary energy that holds morphogenetic fields or templates in place. So therefore, when sounds get corrupted, I like to use the word out of tune. It's helpful to kind of understand when something's out of tune, it's like, ugh, you want to cover your ears. When something's in tune, it can bring emotion, it can bring tears to the eyes, it can bring smiles, it can bring so much feeling to you, right? Because you're one with source in that moment. So now let's kind of come down a little bit and realizing this is really significant for us because it's connecting us to the Elasa sun. So I'm just going to highlight this, the Elasa sun, and it is doing something which is occurring within the planet's interior layers of the Rasha span dimensional fields as the Elasan fields and are transforming the caves of creation. So we're going to look at this through another graph. Caves of creation is really going to be the space in between, and think about that there's it's kind of known that there's more space in us than matter, even in our human body. And so the space in between is going to be where truly the instruction sets and creations taking place. You can think of it as the dark matter, the the mother matrix within there, or the dark matter template. So within this, one of the things to really understand is that these are the layers that have been targeted and manipulated by the negative alien agendas. So when we think of the Metatronic lens, the beast machine technologies, the J seals, the hijacked APIN systems, and grids upon the planet, they are targeting these specific layers. And just as much as it refers to actual kind of atomic levels of instruction sets within our body, it also represents these inner earth layers, physical matter layers of the earth. And this is why we are called so many times to do grid work upon the earth, and why we are kind of nudged by our guardian team to build our Rasha body so that we can be that much more of a conduit of this pillar of light, the Om Shade the original or the first cause pillar of light, in order to be kind of like that beam of light that pours through us and begins to correct all of the corrupted codes within the earth body. So now I'm going to kind of just jump down a little bit, because now we're going to look at something. This is a great article if you want to read it. Again, I've given you the link. It's the Rasha body instruction set on the energetic synthesis. But again, we're going to now start to look at something about the Rasha lay. Okay. And as we look at this, this is going to be helping us to understand a little bit more of the Rasha lay, the Rasha la, and the Rasha lia. So we just basically are being very general in the term the Rasha body, because it really encapsulates a set structure. And remember that as you move into each next domain or God world, then you are actually dealing with different types of elements, different types of types of electrons, neutrons, and protons would be something else. It would actually not be the same as in the more dense realities. So I'm going to jump down over here and we're going to just kind of move our way down, but you're going to see it moves through all the dimensions. It really corresponds to us, the Rasha body, as we begin to rebuild our Rasha body, we are generally rebuilding at the base crystalline core of ourselves, the blood, the bone, the dark matter template. So we are rebuilding ourselves from the inside out, kind of like resetting all of the base templates. Now, let's go over here and let's look at Rasha La, Rasha Le, Rasha Leah. And within here, this is to know that the Rasha body, right here, the process of building the Rasha body also spiritualizes our blood through what is called crystal waters. So this is something, especially when we're doing the crystal river spiral and working with the crystal waters and connecting to this energy to begin to flood through us. This is spiritualizing our blood and preparing us to animate the creation of the eucharistic body. So the eucharistic body is basically our body that begins to encompass beyond this 15-dimensional time matrix. Now, this goes into a bit of detail into starting to recognize that even the starry night firmament, which means the stars we see in the sky as we begin to transform, will also start to transform our ability to see beyond the veils. Many of these are mind slides or holographic inserts over our own night sky that have been keeping us from having direct contact from the illumination of the stars and our star families radiating upon us, and we will begin to be able to dissolve all of these blocks and these barriers or holographic inserts that have been keeping us separated from receiving the photonic light and the starry energy that we are here to receive. We could also think of these as neutrinos when you look at it, especially through the sciences, and even human design really utilizes the word neutrinos as a way to describe how we receive packets of information from one body in the celestial heavens to another body in the celestial heavens. So that's really cool. So just very quickly, we're just going to come down here and we're going to look at now the energy of knowing, okay, Rasha body is kind of the base. It's really the Aton body. It is really going to be the dark matter template. But let's look at here, and it says there is, and it's right here in the middle, there is an inner domain section that is referred to as the Rasha Leah. There is a middle domain section that is referred to as the Rasha Le, and an outer domain that is the Rasha La. So think about it this way. We are working with the Rasha body, but each Rasha body kind of has a different expression. If you are in the inner domain worlds, the middle domain worlds, or even the core domain worlds, right? And we are in the seven lower heavens. So there's seven lower heavens, seven higher heavens. Then we begin to connect to our Rasha body as we begin to move out of this 15-dimensional time matrix. As we start to connect to that, I just want you to know that there is going to be other terms that might be interchanged. So knowing that when we say Rasha body, sometimes it's Rasha Le, okay? Sometimes it's Rasha La. And again, we're also getting the opportunity to work with Rasha Leah, which is going to be moving us closer to Elisa. And you're going to see it over here. She kind of starts to say, so when we think of, let's say, Rasha Leah, Rasha Le, Rasha La, now think of the suffix like le, la, or li, la, ni, or le, ya. So, she's playing around with some of the sound tones within there. I thought that's really neat for you get to see so that you can really start to realize that we're playing with the seed sounds or the seed bijas or the seed mantras of creation. And so it goes on really, again, seeing here how important ka, tha, ra tones are for beginning to really work with the solar energies. And I do want to say, There is kind of the Rasha. When we look at this, it's also about blending the twinning. So basically, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, knowing that there's kind of like this hieros gamos, or this twinning that is happening between planes that are meant to harmonize together as a cohesive oneness. And this is coming back online. We've been separated from all of this in such an intense way that literally there's been distortion even with genders within our universal plane. So now let's look at this other document. So within this, these are a combination of multiple different books I have. I'll actually show you the cover of one of them. This one I don't actually, I lost my PDF format of it. So this one's the Elisa Awakening. And these again are from the Arias or Ayasha's materials. And so I'm actually going to read a little bit on this one. I don't have it on a PDF to show you, but really, we want to look at the primary domain planes and states of matter. So the base energy is going to be the Rasha dark matter, the base energy. Then we work with the chariatric. So when we look at the layers of the auras around in the graph, we see that these are going to be ways in which we see where we start to move into the chariatric layer, or the etheric. So this is going to be moving out, starting to move out beyond second harmonic universe. So second harmonic universe into third harmonic universe, layers of connection. So the base Mahayanic is the Rasha dark matter. Then we have the etheric is the core matter. Then we have the base Catheric is the inner matter. The base Tularic, middle matter, and the base Atmic is the outer matter. So when we look at this, these are all states of matter. And again, these are all going to be expressions of it within different dimensional planes as it embodies within its totality. So hopefully this is starting to give you a little bit of an understanding of Rasha body. When we say we're building our Rasha body, you are literally building up your dark matter template in order to hold more and more domains of consciousness, in order to hold more flame body within you, and you are resetting, if you will, the instruction sets within. So again, if you were designed to bloom into an oak tree, but you feel like you've been blossoming into something that doesn't feel like it's really reaching that level of being, it's generally because there's some level of distortion or corruption to the base template, and we're rebuilding that. So within here is the caves of creation. So the eternal Elasin fields visa the Rasha Partike dark matter. They are the dark matter prismatic passageways between the external and internal creation. That when we learn to travel into the inner domains, we're actually going to be traveling inward, 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 smaller, smaller, smaller. But every time you move your consciousness in, the worlds get more vast, more vast, more vast. So interestingly enough, especially when we do the womb chakra work and we move into the womb of Ilesa Ma, we're actually really moving inward into this minuscule space. But once you get in it, it's like infinite. It's like massive and infinite potential within there. So now let's just kind of look at here. I'm going to scan down. I just wanted to give you a couple of pictures to look with. I put Rasha up here, and you can see just in this document, I have one of the smaller ones, just a few of these types of PDFs. There's 113 different connections to it, and I wanted to get to this one right here. So the eternal caves of creation are the spaces in between. So you're going to see this as different membranes, but I wanted you to see this because if you actually look at this, this looks a lot like if you were to do a side cut of a muscle or a tendon or different structures within the body, doesn't it? It really looks almost like how nerve ganglia is, or I'm probably saying the ganglia word wrong in there, But the nerves and how they move through the body and the receptor points and how they exchange the chemicals, the light, the that even all of our body operates from magnetic charge and negative charge and these polarities that make action happen within our body. All of creation is based in this very same way as it materializes into manifest form. So as we work through here, we're going to see that we are basically working here within the eternal first field of creation. And as it moves, it starts to create a step down. And she uses the word the passages or the caves of creation. um, and I'm not going to get too in depth on this because I just don't have the ability in this video to go into detail with all of this. But I wanted to give you some visuals to start to see right here. Rasha, Partike, dark matter. The instruction sets within, but look at it. It's inside. It's way inside as it begins to manifest further and further out. But it really is inside of our physical body, even within, say, the fascia layers within our body. Now, as we get to look at here, this is actually going to start to show these layers replicating themselves. What we would think again as the Rasha Lay, the Rasha La, and the Rasha Leah is going to manifest in further and further and further domain worlds out. And again, just starting to give a little bit of concept. Each of these have sound tones, right? And a lot of them have similarities into them. And the similarities are not on accident. They really are very important in how they work. So one more image over here for you guys. Oops. And I think, yeah, let me just shrink this down again so you can see it. And I wanted to give you a perspective here. The computer just kind of isn't seeing these things uh, in the best way possible. But I wanted to give you now, let's look at the inner, outer, and so on and so forth. But even just from this level, these actually correspond to different layers within our actual uh, planetary body. So we're going to see this as, here's one right here. It's connected to the mantle. Um, this is going to be subterranean energies, earth, etheric crust. And as it moves through here, there's aquifers that move into upper, middle, and lower spans. And then look, it moves even down further into voids. And let's see if we can get this to clear. Flame fields that kind of move inward, 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 right? So into the core here. As we move up, we got Earth's crust, the inner atmosphere, the middle atmosphere, the upper atmosphere. So this is going to be another band of energy. And here's where the inner Van Allen belt kind of mates us, is in the upper atmosphere. And then we have, as it begins to move up, the outer Van Allen starts to move into the coronosphere, of where we're beginning to get some of this energy. So I wanted to just give a little bit of a visual. Please know these documents, they're not always super clear because I have to do a process to make them searchable. And in that process, it kind of changes them a little bit. But they give you an idea. They'll give you the idea, at least of where to look, right? So there's a little bit for you to play with in order to start to look at what is Rasha body. So when we say we're building our Rasha body building practices, what we're really saying is that we are resetting our template, right? Our instruction sets, our dark matter template. We're going in and we're rebuilding right at the core of who we are. And it is the most challenging energy on the planet right now to work with because it is the most targeted and infected on the planet. It is where all the black goo sits. It is where all the corruption is embedded. It is where all the destruction from a lot of the Jehovian seals and the beast machine technology specifically target the dark matter template, because if they can change some of these elementals or get into them and then begin to host within them, such as hosting within elementals, we are made of elementals. It makes us much easier to hijack, much easier for spirit attachment, much easier for being embedded with shadow dancers or fragmented beings or dis-ease within our body. So as we do these practices, please know that what we are really doing is we are working on a base atomic level within our body. We are utilizing the sound tone and the symbol, the Kelon templates of visuals, sound tones, and movements in order to begin to rebuild our instruction sets from the inside out, in order to restore all harmony and unity again between all domain worlds. So I hope this is a little bit helpful to start to understand a little bit why there has been the choice for flame holders for the group, as well as when we talk about we are building our Rasha body. And when we talk about the idea of instruction sets, I hope this gives you a little bit more to meditate with as you go and be and sit within the womb of Divine Mother, sit within the Divine Ile Sama, enjoy feeling held, nurtured, loved, and received back home, and realize there is really nothing that you have to do, that really your devotion and your heart, that seed of desire within your heart to be one with your true original blueprint again, begins to allow all creation to naturally do what it's meant to do. Nature always wants to go back into divine order, and let love do all the work. With so much love, thank you so much for letting me share this with you.